Welcome on into Check Please, our weekly check-in at DC Prime Steak and Lobsters. Not all steaks are created equal. We'll get to that a little bit later in the show. Julie Donaldson here with you. And joining me for this one is none other than Super Bowl MVP Doug Williams, first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl as well, and Pro Bowler Shawn Springs. Looking forward to some good conversation. Shawn played with Tom Brady, since that's who we're going to be facing. We want to ask you what makes him so great at 44 years old, putting his name in the conversation for MVP as well. But let me start off with kind of where things currently stand and what we're doing. I love it. Your office is just a couple doors down from me.
Yes, it is.
I need to come knock a few more times on your door.
Well, when my door's closed, you won't knock. I told you, knock, I'm in there. If it's closed, I'm in there.
Usually the closed door sign means like, leave me alone.
No, I don't have a do not.
Doug's like, I'm in house.
I don't have a do not disturb on my door. Just knock, I'm in there.
You've stayed with us for quite a while. How's it going this year? A lot of transitions, a lot of change, and we need you to kind of help keep us straight through things.
Well, you know, it is a lot of changes, and just to still be there is a blessing, number one. And, you know, on Sundays, game day, I get a chance to go around and meet a lot of people, you know, a lot of the suite owners and things like that. That's great, you know, go down the field and talk to coaches and things like that. And that's what I always do, so it's still the same thing.
You play hard on Sundays.
I play a lot harder than I want to, I can tell you that.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into going around. Shawn, you own your own company, CEO of WinPack.
Yeah.
Keeps you pretty busy throughout your days.
Yeah, I am busy, but who wouldn't want to meet Doug Williams? He's the man, by the way, let me second that. He is the man in Washington, D.C.
I saw there's a list of all those that are going to be in the suites and those who request Doug, and I'm like, I went to him, I said, you're gonna be a busy man on Sunday.
Yeah, Tim called me this morning, he told me that. I said, they can't ask for anybody else?
Yeah.
He said, no, they want you. But you know,
when Doug Williams is in the house.
That's fun, though.
We want Doug.
That's
Tim Hightower, also an alum, and he runs our alumni foundations.
Yeah, but with that being said, I would love to have my own suite one day with my company, and have Doug in there. I wouldn't work you that hard. We would just tell old stories, man.
Just stay in there. That's what I do. Yours.
So, okay, let's tell some old stories.
Right.
We're going to be taking on Tampa Bay this week. That is where you played and you started the Super Bowl. Won a Super Bowl with them.
That's where I started. You know, I spent 5 years down there, and I love Tampa. You know, but you realize at that particular time I was young. All it was about was playing the game. Didn't understand the business part of it. And then when it came time for the business part, the contract part, I started understanding. And things didn't work out, so it was time to go. And in 1983, I didn't play football at all because of free agents today. We didn't have free agents back then. You know, if somebody had to sign us, they would have had to give up 2 first-round draft picks. So I had nowhere to go, so I wasn't coming back to Tampa. So 83, I did substitute teaching.
Substitute teaching, you went on to win the Super Bowl with Washington. Did Tampa ever say, oh, wait a second, maybe we should have kept you after that?
No, but I tell you what, the late owner, Coverhouse now, he did. I went to Tampa and he asked for me to visit him, and I did visit him. And at his office, you know, down on West Shore Boulevard, and the first thing he said was congratulations. You know, but I had an opportunity to go and Coach McKay and I, we did an autograph session together after that. And he told me, we ate lunch, and he called me Dougie. He said, Dougie, the worst thing that happened to me was the fact that we didn't keep you. Yeah. And I know we'll forget that.
Can you imagine if he was your teacher?
I would listen, you know, but then you think we'd be like, oh man, I would be asking him questions about football, but like, Mr. Williams, you know, what I need to do, man? And he'd probably be up there. Doug was probably one of those teachers, man. He probably was hard but fair.
and you're right. You know, going to school and you got a bunch of 7th and 8th graders, that's what I was dealing with, which is a tough bunch of guys and girls, to be honest with you. Yeah. You know, but it was fun. My brother was the principal of the school. So, you know, I always say, now you know Mr. Williams to get that behind if you don't act right. And they understood that.
It was Gibbs that came to your class and sat in your class and signed you with Washington.
Yeah, when I was coming out of college, there's only one coach that came down to Graham. Now, Kenny Herock, who was the general manager of Tampa at the time, he had been down there 4 or 5 times. But Coach Gibbs came down and spent 2 days, and all he did was sit in the back of a class, and I was doing student teaching at Carroll High School. And he sat back there and observed until school was out. When school was out, him and I sat down and talked about not just football, we talked about real life, what life is about, you know, what I wanted to do, what I expected to do. and then we'd talk football. He did that for 2 days, and he went back to Tampa, and he told me, he said, hey, look, if we want a franchise quarterback, we got to draft the kid from Grambling.
It's a pretty wild story. You also played for Gibbs.
Yep.
I'd be curious to know the differences of the Gibbs that each of you had in your coaching days. Did Gibbs, did he work you out though? He just went to the class?
No, he couldn't work me out because, it was visiting. So he just went to my class and, like I said, we talked about life and we talked about football. He was just trying to find out. He talked about what we did at Grambling, not what he was doing. So he tried to find out how much I knew about what we was doing. So, every play we had at Grambling, I knew it like the back of my hand. We was running the wing tee, and I could tell him everything that happened in the wing tee. So it was a lot easier at that time.
So he goes to Washington. Let me find out first, as our wonderful appetizers are coming here. Shawn, I want you to tell me what Coach Gibbs was like for you when you signed here as a free agent in 2004, and then I want to see how that compares with the Coach Gibbs.
You know what? I imagine that it probably is very similar. One thing that you know about Coach Gibbs is he's gonna be honest. he's gonna shoot you straight. And he was one of those guys, if you worked and you came to work every day, like I tell people, Coach Gibbs is a coach, you swear he had a pair of overalls on like a farmer. He worked you like a farmer, right? Like every day is work day for Coach Gibbs. Wasn't no relaxed day. Wasn't no, the day is Tuesday or Wednesday, it's gonna be light. It's hard every day with Coach Gibbs, but he was fair, and I really appreciate Coach Gibbs because with my father being in the NFL, the reason I signed with Washington was because of the relationship and the respect he had for Coach Gibbs. But I like Coach Gibbs because he taught you like the history of the game. I think too many of these young players don't understand the relevance of what Doug Williams did for the quarterback position, the black quarterbacks. And this is something when I mentored Dwayne, I used to get frustrated, with Dwayne about, Dwayne, you got Doug Williams in your building, right? And he was the first, minority quarterback to win a Super Bowl, or what he's done for the game. Now you see Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Pat Mahomes, you see all those guys, but I love that about Coach Gibbs, that he would tell us stories about the teams in the 80s. And the reason why that's important is because the organization, we had a little rough patch, and maybe still have a little rough patch, but in order to get that winning spirit back, you got to kind of say, hey, here's some of the traditions we had, here's what we did. So the people know we're just not a losing organization, this is a winning organization. So I love that about Coach Gibbs.
That's the history, part of the winning organization. Right? Is his description of Gibbs fair?
No, I think it is. I think it is. It's just the time was different because at that time you couldn't have as many players as we had. At that time we had two teams. Basically, we had a whole offensive line that went against the defense. We had a whole defensive line that just went against the offense, defensive back. We had that many guys here. I shouldn't be saying that because I don't know whether that was legal or not, but we got away with it.
I was thinking boy, I know coaches would love to have that now.
But what he said about coaches being fair, if you came to camp in shape, he wasn't going to get you in shape. You had to come to camp in shape and be ready to play, and that's what he wanted.
And that was setting the standard of what excellence was going to mean, no matter if it was your generation where you played and won a Super Bowl, or your generation as well. Coach Gibbs set that standard for it. And now we're going to talk a little bit when we come back here on Check Please about what's going to be the standard and how this team addresses the second half of the season, because coming to town is going to be Tom Brady and the Super Bowl winning champs, and we'll see what Washington has prepared for them and what you guys want to see for them. So stay with us here on Check Please, but meantime, we got to dig into some of these appetizers.
Hey Washington fans, Alex Strimo from Box is here to tell you that you don't have to wait for the big game anymore to get in on the action. With Box's free-to-play games, you can pick boxes every day and win huge prizes across all your favorite sports. All you have to do is pick a box, match your numbers, and win. So download the app now and start playing today. Games are completely free, and players can win official Washington football team merchandise and other great prizes all season long. Boxes, it's anyone's game.
Now there's a way to make supporting your favorite restaurant even better. Introducing the Grubhub Guarantee. It's our promise to make sure your food is just right by delivering it on time within the delivery window. and for the lowest price compared to other apps. Or you'll get back at least $5 in perks. That way you can experience your food just like the restaurant intended. That's the Grubhub Guarantee.
It's about grit. It's about guts. It's about winning. It's about where we come from and what we can be. It's about DC and celebrating our football team. With the Washington football team scratcher from the DC Lottery, you can win up to $50,000, as well as some exciting second chance opportunities. And you can continue your winning experience at DCILottery.com.
This week on FanDuel Sportsbook, we're offering an exclusive odds boost to new customers. So you can turn
I like those odds.
into
I love those odds.
and Lil Dubs into Big Dubs. But it's only happening now. Make every moment more with FanDuel Sportsbook when you boost your odds right now.
Whew, you big, man.
New customers get exclusive 40-to-1 odds on any team to win their Week 1 matchup. Bet $5 to win $200.
We're back on Check, Please. I want to talk about, because one of the most important things to you guys when you're playing is what number you wear.
Yeah.
Because sometimes folks don't know you by your name even. They know you by the number 17. Like I have a shirt that has 17. Everybody thinks I'm wearing Terry McLaurin. I'm like, no. This is the original 17. This is Doug's. This is Doug's shirt. And you've got 24.
Yep.
How did you, let me get to 24 in a second, but how did you get to 17?
It was easy. I wore 12 all my life. I wore 12 in Tampa, I wore in the USFL. And when I got here, we had a kicker by the name of Steve Cox. And back then, today they buy jerseys. Well, back then, the guy with the seniority got whatever number that he wanted. And they told me, said, well, you can get number 12. Even Steve said, you can have number 12. And I told him, no, you got number 12. I said, give me whatever. And they had 17. I got 17 because, the way I looked at it, I know a lot of people might look at it a little different. It's about the number. I think it's about the opportunity to play. It didn't worry about the number.
That's kind of a little different from your generation, though.
Yeah, I wanted my number. I wanted
You'd
my
have
number.
paid for the number.
Yeah, I
You'd
was
have
mad
bought
at
that
it.
number.
My last year in New England, I didn't get my number. I was upset. I think it affected my season. But anyway, 24. And the cool thing about 24 for me, my dad was 20 in the NFL, got 24 at Ohio State. But the reason I wore 24, I became a defensive back. And Doug will know, a guy named Everson Walls, who's a Grambling legend, Black College Hall of Fame. He's one of my father's best friends. Most people know the story about he and my father a kidney. They kind of were best friends in Dallas. Everson was like my uncle. He wore number 24. So that's why I wore number 24. I became a defensive back. And I followed in his footsteps, and he played. And now I know, from my earlier conversation, Doug said he made Everson the best defensive back. So now I can kind of go back.
So your 24 is related to Doug.
Yeah, I can go back and tell.
Otherwise, you wouldn't
I don't
have
even know
that
if he wore 24 in Grambling, but he was my pretty much my
I think
uncle.
you did. I think you did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Emerson, let me tell you, man, Emerson, we had ball at Grambling. We had a ball. Like I say, I made Emerson, Emerson made me. Because we went at each other every day, him and his crew, man. And to this day, I see his whole crew now. Hey, we always talk about it, man. And the guys say, man, I appreciate you, what you did and all that. Yeah. But no, it was great.
Do you remember, because your dad, you were talking about how some of the younger generation these days maybe don't understand or respect the game and some of the history that comes with it. I think they see a little bit more of the flash and the bright lights and a little bit all of that.
And when you talk like that, you seem like an old player, but
yeah.
but I'm a football historian.
But you grew up in the game because
Yeah,
your dad, Ron Springs, played for, should we say, the Cowboys.
Yep.
You grew up in the Cowboys locker room.
Yep.
But you grew up around the game, so you grew up knowing the history of it. Do you remember his dad?
Yeah,
playing?
I do. When you asked me that, I told you what number 20.
Yeah.
I can remember Shawn. The way he ran. He was low to the ground and he could turn the corner and things like that. We played the Cowboys when damn the Cowboys. We played when I was at Tampa, man, and we got beat and guys like him. The reason why we got beat because of the plays that they made during that time.
What was it like? What do you remember about those days as a young kid growing up in that locker room? and how that impacted your career.
Well, the thing I remember most about this growing up in the locker room, it seems like back then it was really like a brotherhood of camaraderie. These guys, they were like, we spent Thanksgiving dinners together. Obviously the Cowboys played on Thanksgiving, but I was always up at the house. I got Christmas gifts from all my dad's teammates, so that's pretty cool. You know, when Tony Dorsett is kind of like your uncle, but you know, and Everson Walls and Ed Two-Tone Jaws and Drew Pearson and all these guys, man, they were just like, that was my family. I didn't see them as Cowboys. I saw them as like my family. And the Washington football team was like that because my dad talked about the respect that he had. And people don't know, I signed in Washington. I had a chance to go to like 2 or 3 other teams. And I signed in Washington. They paid me well. But I signed in Washington because of the relationship that my dad was like, hey man, I remember guys who played in Washington, Love, Buggs, Gibbs, and those type of things. So that's
Well, yeah, you know what? All the guys that you called that was at Dallas, you know, all of them legends. And you was around them all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people can say they was around Ed Too-Tall Jones, Drew Pearson, Everson Walls? Not many.
Right.
But you had that opportunity, man, and I envy you for that. Because I didn't grow up like that. But you know what? I got a chance to be in a locker room, play with a lot of guys, kind of like what you said, that to me was legend. You know, even today with the Washington football team, when I think about this football team, the one thing that comes to mind to me is the alumni, the guys that played this game, man. And I think where we are today and what we're trying to do, I think you got to bring the alumni along with it because you know what? If you don't know where you've been, it's hard to know where you're going.
I respect the history. It's great to walk into the building every day and see the 3 Super Bowl championships, one of which you're responsible for helping happen here, and knowing that that's where we want to go, but it takes a little time. Part of that is you got to win games.
Yep.
You have to win games. That has not been an easy thing to come by for this team. And now we're going up and you want to talk about some of the greatest play of the game, Tom Brady. Shawn, you played with him.
Yep.
You spent your last year in the NFL.
Yep.
You left Washington and you went to play in New England. You played with Brady.
Because of a guy named Tom Brady.
Did you? Okay.
Recruited me to New England.
Did he?
Yeah.
So tell us.
So I remember March 1st, I was training in Arizona and, you know, in New England, that time of year was a blizzard. So I couldn't necessarily get to the hotel down in Foxborough. And I remember coming in the next morning and having a meeting with Bill probably around 8:30, get to the facility by 8, and Tom is watching film from when he got injured from the Giants game. And he was like, Springs, what's up, man? Like, you know, he was cool and he was just like, and we knew each other from Michigan and Ohio State.
Because you could have been his teammate at Michigan, right?
I could have been his teammate at Michigan, but I chose to go a different route.
Ron Springs' dad wanted you at Ohio State. You had no choice, Ohio State alum.
So Tom was basically, and he recruited me in a sense to say, hey man, come to England, we're gonna win. But what really got me is the best player in the NFL, March 1st, 8 o'clock in the morning in the offseason, is watching film.
Watching film.
Now think about that, right? Like this,
it's off season. They're
like
supposed to be on a beach.
He doesn't have to show up to
away
off season
from their
workouts.
family, away
He don't have to show up
from
to
the facility.
anything. And he is setting the tempo for everybody in the organization. And that's the same thing that happened when I played with him during a year. You try to beat him, first one in the building, Tom Brady. Last one out of the building, Tom Brady. And now football's changed and you can take your iPad and different things. But the fact is, Julie, we would ride to the bus. I never forget riding to the bus to play the Saints. Greg Williams, defense coordinator. And I gave Tom my week before our notes from Washington what we were gonna do. I said, hey man, we were gonna double West on 3rd down. I was gonna match up with Moss, we was gonna lean to safety. And I gave it to Tom. And Tom read the whole notebook. And then asked me questions before the game. But that's the level of detail and the level of effort. And if you're gonna play against him, whatever your weakness is that week, he's gonna know it.
He's still doing this at 44 years old, and he's really putting up numbers that could put him in a conversation.
Football's easy to him, Julie.
Well, and you're right. He has made it easy for him.
Easy for him.
You know, the only time you get in trouble if you got a great pass rush. You know, you got it. But if you ain't got no pass rush,
oh, you're in trouble.
Everything else is easy.
All right, so we're short Montez Sweat. Chase Young is still learning how to be that consistent pass rusher. We got some of the interior guys going. How do we evaluate Tom Brady as a quarterback, what he's doing now and how we get to him?
Let me tell you something. I got so much respect for Tom Brady because when you look at it from a quarterback standpoint, there ain't nothing he do that ain't fundamentally sound. Every throw that he make, you watch his left foot. He always go where he's throwing the football. He never out of step. And his release is picture perfect. You know, that's from work, from doing it every day. You know, you watch him on the sideline, man, he throwing the football. You watch him practice film, he throwing the football. That's what he do. That's his job. And at 44, don't matter to Tom Brady. He ain't 44 in his mind. I'm playing football. That's
I can
exactly.
throw the ball 50 yards, and I'm going to continue to throw it 50 yards.
That's the way you look at it.
And he's still doing it, which will be a tall task for Washington on Sunday. One we'll see. We played Tom pretty well in the playoff game. It will be a little bit different this time around, though. Stay with us here on Check, please. We'll get further into those details when we return.
Nachos, better with Pepsi.
Hey man, we're back.
We're back.
Hey, you got any more of those fast plays?
Tons. Check them out.
Cool.
Oh.
You know what? We're gonna need a bunch of each.
A bunch.
Hey, thanks, bud.
Thanks, bud.
Fast Play is fast fun for everyone.
My peeps, look what I got! Hey, we'll play them on the ship.
The Maryland Lottery has lots of Fast Play games, and some have a progressive jackpot.
The modern world is a digital world. At home, at work, or on the go. We rely on data every day. Losing it can result in lost family photos, lost business, or even a lost job. Want to avoid these problems? You need cyber protection, where backup and cybersecurity meet. Only Acronis offers backup solutions that also stop ransomware before your files are damaged. It's easy, efficient, and secure cyber protection for all your data. Try Acronis free for 30 days. Go to acronis.com today for modern cyber protection.
Veterans, you may have earned a variety of VA benefits. Did you know VA can help you further your education and pursue professional training? The Home Loan Guarantee Program can help you buy, repair, or adapt a home. VA provides housing support if you find yourself homeless or at risk of homelessness. And don't forget world-class healthcare. Learn more about these and other VA benefits. Visit choose.va.gov.
My work has been viewed by 100 million people. My work helps save lives. My work has gone platinum. My work gives people hope. I work at FedEx.
Take your career to the next level with one of our many open positions.
We are back on Check, Please, and Tom Brady is coming to town once again. What does our offense need to do? That look on his face.
Because he knows.
Field goal's not going to do it.
Right.
I'm going to say that. We can't live on field goal. We got to score touchdown. And you're looking at one of the better defenses in the National Football League.
Right.
It's a tall order. It's a tough task.
It's going to be a tall order for our offense, but you know, as the last four games that we've lost with a backup quarterback in Taylor Heineke has struggled a good bit. Let me kind of flip it over to you. Let's say you're a DB for Washington, which you were, and you're going up against Tom Brady and the arsenal of weapons that he has. What's the best way to try and limit them in their production? Because they're one of the top 3 offenses in the league. Is it man? Is it zone? Is it the run?
It's going to be one of those things where you as a player, you're looking at your coordinator. There's only 2 ways you can go with Tom. You're going to either, it ain't no in between. Either you're going to be all out and you're going to get after him and live with the consequences, or you're going to sit back and just let him cut up or let him run or something.
Ain't no doubt. You know, one team that had the best antidote for Tom Brady was New Orleans. What they did, they swamped him.
Yeah.
It's going to be all or nothing.
All or nothing.
And he actually had a couple of interceptions, and he doesn't have those very often.
Yeah.
He doesn't have those.
If you play conservative and you chilling, which you can do, but I am telling you, it's got to be. It can't be like one of those game plans. I'm trying to outsmart and I'm a good coordinator. Nah, it ain't one of them. It's like, let's get after it and let's see what happens.
We'll see what happens. We'll see how aggressive Washington is. It has to be in order to try and get the game on Sunday. You had a last thought here.
And my last thought to Doug's point, if you're going to be, the best thing you can do on defense is hope that your offense, this is when you go to Terry and it's like, Terry,
hold the ball.
I need y'all to hold the ball and I need you to make plays.
Keep Tom Brady off the field.
Because if y'all don't, and you got to be honest with yourself, we will. That's where, as a player, you're thinking like we will get embarrassed by this guy if you don't.
No easy task. That's why they won the Super Bowl.
We got to be balls out.
Yeah, exactly. And the players know it, the coaches know it, and everybody needs to know it.
And just because you played them well last season in the playoffs, a totally different team this time around than what we were at that time when we faced him then. I want to ask each of you gentlemen, though. This is presented by the Women of Washington and by Fresh Fine Wine. Tell me about a woman in your life, in your football life, that has had an impact on you.
And to be honest with you, my mom had the greatest impact because my mom wouldn't fly. She only flew one time, that was the Super Bowl. But other than that, when she came to Tampa, she got on the Greyhound bus, 2-day trip, to come watch me play. And she didn't do that one time. She did that many times.
Pretty special. What about for you, Shawn?
I would have to say it's my mom, too. My mom would take me to my practices and stuff. And I never forget, she used to tell the coaches, if you're not giving my son the ball, you wasting my time. And I would be so embarrassed. And I'd be like, Mom, like, there's other kids. She was like, no. And she just like, nah, you're going to get your degree. I don't care how big of a football star you think you are. It's about education, and she's always supported me off the field and on the field.
Real mom.
Real mom.
Yeah.
That's real talk. I appreciate that. Mom's not showing up unless son gets the ball.
Yeah.
That is presented by Fresh Fine Wine, the Women of Washington. We appreciate the women in all of our players' lives. That's going to do it for Check Please. We appreciate you joining, and we'll see how Washington does against Tom Brady, terrific, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Thank you to Doug Williams, to Shawn Springs. He's calling his mom right now.
I'm calling my mom.
We'll see you next time, everybody.